People, we are back. The weekly show is back. Can you hear me, Jimmy Casas? Tell me you can hear me. Can you hear me, Jimmy Casas? Are you kidding me right now? Are you joking with me right now? Can you hear me? Turn your microphone on, kid. Turn your microphone on. You're muted. Let's go. There he is. There he is. My guy, you there? Oh my goodness. I am jacked up. Can't wait to talk to you. I'm sitting in a parking lot in northern Wisconsin, per usual, and getting ready to talk to my man Jimmy, who's still trying to figure out.
My audio's not working.
What's not working?
I can't hear anything. Come in here.
I can hear you. I can hear you, Jimmy.
You can hear me? Joe, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How come I can't hear you?
This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. So he can't hear me, so I can essentially say anything that I want right now, and it's going to be fantastic. I'm sitting in a parking lot, northern Wisconsin, and I'm just going to tell you right now, you're not going to believe this, but it's true. Literally 5 minutes ago, sirens, sirens everywhere. And I thought they were coming for me. They're not. I'm still alive. We're still here. Life is good. We're going to talk about it. As soon as you can start hearing me, give me a thumbs up so I know you can hear me, because I'm not going to make fun of you until you can hear me.
I can hear you now.
Yes, my guy right there. My guy right there. The champion for kids, the expect excellence every day, the carry the banner guy, the dealer of hope. He's here. He's here. My God.
This is what happens when I have way too many monitors on. I don't know which monitor the noise is coming out. So you're done. You're done. I'm sticking with this one monitor now.
You do what you need to, man. I'm so excited to see you. This is great. Like I said, I was just telling people that you didn't hear because you couldn't hear me. I'm in this parking lot again, Jimmy. I'm in a parking lot again. I'm just going to tell you, people are going to show up. And when they do, I'm going to start driving. And I need you to be okay with that, right? So before we get started, I'm just gonna. I didn't get a chance to eat this morning. I was gonna get a piece of pizza real quick before we get started, and then we'll go. So if you want to talk, you can while I eat my pizza from Wig & Pen in Iowa. You go right ahead. Oh, have you seen this pizza, Jimmy? Have you seen this pizza, Jimmy?
I hate you again. Every week I have a new reason to hate you. You cannot be sending me pictures while you're on the road from Wig & Pen Pizza. You know, it is my favorite pizza in the world. For all of you who have never been to Iowa City, Coralville in this case, or Ankeny, because that is their second location, the Wig & Pen Pizza. So for all of you out there that are hashtag pizza chat connoisseurs, I'm telling you, that is the best pizza you will find in this country. I don't care if you're from New York. I don't care if you're from Detroit. I don't care if you're from Chicago. Wig & Pen. Wig & Pen.
Pizza, it's good cold, too. I'm just going to tell you. It's a good day, man.
I cannot believe that. Joe, you're the only guy that knows that'll drive 3 hours out of his way to go get the Wig & Pen Pizza.
That's
now that we're talking food chat, I need to hear about these tacos, too, outside of Minneapolis. I mean.
El Sazon. It's in a gas station, Jimmy. The place is in a gas station. It was unbelievable. Tacos were fantastic. The burrito is great. Food chat is on. This is in a BP gas station. The best part, I went in, I was going to get gas and get a taco, or 2 tacos and a burrito is what I ended up getting. I went in to get gas. I pulled up to the pump to get gas. It says, no gas today. The gas wasn't working. But then underneath it said, El Sazon is open. So I'm like, all right,
tacos are being served. That's right, baby.
That's it, man. So I went out and grabbed some. They were excellent. And it's close to the airport.
It's a good thing, because I made the mistake, and I don't know why I do this. I know it. Why did I go out for Mexican food last night? I should have just stayed home and cooked it myself, because I know I'm going to go, and I know I'm going to be disappointed.
Right.
And then I'm going to be mad because I wasted all those calories. I should have just cooked myself, or flew home to Iowa and asked my mama to cook me a meal. But anyway.
or fly to Minneapolis, just walk out.
That's right. Or I
It was-
should have went to
it was good.
Minneapolis. Whichever one
There's-
gets me there quicker.
I'll tell you, there's the two places that the one in San Antonio, La Fogata. Is that what it is?
La Fogata. La
Yeah.
Fogata.
And this place, I like La Fogata more. I thought it was better, but this place is right there. It was so good. So I'll tell you, we can talk food all day, but we're not going to.
Before we talk any more food, I'm not laughing about that. I'm laughing because you say that Mexican restaurant like it's a Christmas carol. It's not like fa la 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 gata. It's fogata.
Yeah.
Listen to me, my little friend. Fogata.
I'm at-
Fogata. Josh Tovar, can you help Joe Sanfilippo? Tell him it's not Fogata. Fogata.
If I say it, it's good. Look, Jimmy, just understand this. The accent is the accent. That's just what it is. You got that? Like when Wisconsin is Wisconsin, it's gonna be Wisconsin. I'm gonna say bag. I'm gonna say bubbler. That's what's gonna happen right now.
Hey,
bag and bubbler.
This weekend, everyone was telling me about would I like some water.
Water.
Some water?
Whatever it is, it's
water.
It's water. Just relax with it. It's water. There's like it's you trying to change the way that I say stuff is like the most futile thing in the world, because A, I don't listen to you, and B, I'm not going to change it anyway, no matter who tells me, because I can't. This is who I am. Jimmy Casas, this is who I am. Deal with it. Good
seeing you, my friend. Good seeing you. Good seeing you. Looks like we got a good crew this morning. Thank you, everybody, for jumping into the weekly show. We love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to our nonsense.
Oh, my God.
Joe and I actually have no idea what we're going to talk about this morning, but I do have a thought.
That's good. First thing is, I want Chuck Moss to leave this place right now. He just put awesomizer. Like this is what you do to people, Jimmy. It's the dumbest thing. It's the dumbest thing. You can't, like, you make up words and then people, well-respected people in the world, start using them. I saw culturize on a wall in a school. It's not a word. And yet it's on a wall in a school. Like, of all the places where culturize should be, a place that teaches you how to read is not the place that it should be.
Hey, this is a true story. Someone DM'd my wife last night and said, hey, just want to make sure. I think someone is impersonating Jimmy. I saw something that talked about a Culturize Institute for paraeducators, and I'm worried someone is using that Culturize for their brand, their own. Like, no, that's actually us.
Okay, of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? Now, why wouldn't it be? Of course, why does that not surprise me?
Our paraeducators need some love too. Okay,
we got to Culturize. They don't need words that aren't real.
We got to
need help with kids. They don't need words that aren't real. They don't need to be hope dealers or whatever that thing is. Like
I just love the fact that somebody DM'd her and said, hey, I'm worried that someone's using Jimmy's word culturize. And they know it's not a real word. So nobody else is making up that word. So.
You lost me at they're using Jimmy's word because it's not one.
Hey, it is a word. It is a word. I told you it came to me in church one day. I told you that. You know, God helped me see the path. He said,
oh, for
Jimmy,
God's sakes.
Look,
you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't say God brought it to me or my mom, because as soon as you go with that, and then I can't make fun of either of them. That's the kryptonite. You know, that's the kryptonite. There's that, like Jimmy always
Mama
says.
Mijo, I think culturize would be a great word for it.
God.
You know what she said? Mijo, you're my merchant of hope.
Now you're just lying. Now you're lying. Like now I'll make fun of you for lying about your mama. Like now you got problems, man. That's coming back to you. Good luck with all that, man. Good luck with all that. All right, Jimmy, let's get to some stuff. So I just got done. I was talking with Tom. Tom Murray and I, we were talking to the middle school group in Michigan. Really good group, really good conversation. I know you've been to Michigan a couple times. I've been to Michigan a couple times. Tom's been a couple times. So it was really cool to kind of connect with them and talk about some of the things that we could do to lead. And the cool thing to me, Tom had said at the end, the question was, how do you break out of isolation, or how do you make sure that this job doesn't feel isolating and alone? And one thing Tom said was, to make sure that you have, your inner circle of people and that you trust. And he'd mentioned you and he mentioned me, that either of us would get on a plane and go to wherever he is if he needed something personally, professionally. And I said that you'd go because of the miles, but I said I'd go because I want to help you, right? And so we think we but the point is, when you can find people in your inner circle to have conversations with that aren't always professionally driven, you give yourself a better chance when you need to have the conversations that are professionally driven. And I think a lot of times, specifically in this time of the year, people are getting really isolated and alone because it's February, right? You're a month out of the fact that you had like a 2-week break, and then you get this big jump in momentum because you're like, all right, we're refreshed, time to go. And then maybe the weather doesn't turn out right. It's cold, it's dark in the morning, it's dark when you go home. Like, you get all of that. You're in that midst where you're like, where can I find some joy in the work? And a lot of times when you find joy in the work, it comes through the connections that you have with people that you can get through that stuff, because it's not just about talking to them when you need help. I think a lot of times, and Jimmy, it's interesting that you say that about the paraeducators. And I know we're laughing about it, but it's real. It's true. You're right. That everybody needs help in some regard. But I think one of the things that's really important that I know that I missed out on, from not only from a paraeducator standpoint, from our certified staff, everybody in the building, was I think sometimes leaders wait until people are at the tipping point to provide the support that they think that they need. And so when they're already at the tipping point, and they're like, okay, we need a break. So instead of staying for a 45-minute meeting, we're only going to meet for 20 minutes. Well, okay, that's great for the 20 minutes. And it's a great gesture, but it's not a process. And Jimmy, you talk like at length about frameworks. So I was wondering, is there a way that we could talk about framework of support that doesn't get our people to the edge of that cliff, so their next step is either to fall off or we pull them back? Does that make sense? Like, I think we wait till they get to the edge and then we're there for them. We're going to pull you back off the edge. It's going to be okay. Well, guess what? The second that we stop pulling them back, they start walking towards the edge again. So Is there a way that we can provide support along the way so they don't feel like they're at the edge before we give them the support that they deserve?
Yeah, I'm thinking, you're talking, I'm writing stuff down real quick, because it just, kind of starts flowing through my head very quickly here. But I think there's a lot of different approaches. The first thing I would say, I don't think there's one way, right? And this is what I love doing the weekly show, because, you look at the people on the show right now, or those who watch it, or those that reach out to us, Joe. And, I always think about the leadership style, I guess, is one thing I always kind of go to, right? And it's a good reminder for all of us that, we all bring different styles to the leadership, right? But we all have different experiences from that. And some things work for some of us who then we can't replicate that in somebody else, right? So I guess I see it more as the thinking of a leadership. Like, how do we think as leaders? And so when I think about that, I do kind of think, obviously, about frameworks and process and those things. Again, I just kind of go back to my own experiences, what, I didn't think about in terms of when I became a leader. I didn't know how to think like a leader. I guess that's what I would say. I just responded. That's all I would do. I just see things and I would respond. Like, I knew who I was. Like, I wanted people to work hard, right? I wanted people not to complain. I wanted people to just do your job, right? So those were all my thoughts in my head. But I didn't really think about that. Leadership to me really is actually being strategic.
Yeah.
Now, when I say that, we have to be careful, because I don't want people to think strategic means like we're being manipulative, right? No, because it's more about transparency, because I think transparent leaders are effective leaders. And Joe, again, we've shared this and you talk about this. And this one thing I took from you a long time ago is it's the idea of that narrative, right? Because we got to be careful with that narrative, because if we're not clear, right, then people are going to create their own narrative. So that's one thing I do think. I do think there are fundamentals of leadership that will get us better results over time that are used widely across all leadership scopes, right? And I think clarity is one of those. I think expectations is one of those, right? I think the idea of frameworks and processes are critical and foundation. So here's an example, and I can't remember, after a while you kind of forget, like, where did I share this? Did I share this on the show or somewhere this week? But I always kind of use that basketball analogy, like, on that Friday night when I play the game and our kids don't, perform on that Monday morning, I don't go say, okay, throw the basketball and go play again to get better. No, we go back to fundamentals. Well, I think fundamentals are critical in the work that we do. So when you talk about that, like whether it's isolation or whatever happens to be the case, one of the things I do think is fundamental is that we all start our career as teachers. Mm-hmm. So I do believe it is important that part of the joy of the work that we all have, because of that idea, we went into the work to be kind of that servant leader, to make a difference, to make an impact with kids. Well, when we move up into the leadership role or go up that ladder, there's this perception that somehow we're moving further away from kids. But what if we reframed it and said, yeah, but my kids in my classroom is now my staff, right? And I'm going to have to differentiate for them. So I do think these things replicate. That's why I think systems are important. This central office and the building, the classroom, to me, are a system. But even within that system, each one of those entities are a system in itself. Mm-hmm. And so if we can begin to see these things, then I think, well, what if I approach leadership from the heart of a teacher? And I just had a conversation myself last night with a middle school principal who was driving home, who called me, who was just, again, a rough week. February, just needing some help to process, to talk through some things. And one of the things I said to her was, what I'm hearing you as you continue to give me these examples is the only thing I would say tonight, because again, I don't live her world every day, right? Like, I'm not in it. But we do sometimes, when we're on the outside, we do see certain things. And one of the things I said to her was this: stay in the conversation longer. Stay in the conversation longer. Because when you do that, you will begin to bring more clarity to yourself about what's happening. But what's happening, because she's moving so quickly, because she's having to deal with all these things, she goes to this, listens to something, and then wants to either fix it or give some advice and then move on, right? And I said to her, notice with you, right, you've been talking a while, and now I'm going to stay in this conversation longer with you. So tell me more. Why did you decide to do that, right? I'm trying to understand from her lens, because I think one of the things I love about coaching is trying to understand how people think as a leader. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I would advise people, is help people. How do they think as a teacher? How do they think as a leader, or whatever their role is? It's understanding this. So that's one thing I would say, is stay in the conversation longer. But the other one, Joe, is permission. I think we need to give people permission to help us. We're not going to be able to fix all these problems. We're one individual, and we all know how we can all be. So what if we just changed our language and said, hey, listen, there are times that I know I can be this way, but I'm giving you permission because I don't want to be that way. And I'm actually working on me here. So when you see me behave that way, I'm giving you permission. I know it doesn't matter what my words say, because it's going to be my behavior, because I can't get defensive or get my feelings hurt or shut down or walk away. Well, then you're not being sincere. You're just saying, I give you permission, but I really don't want to hear it. So there are a lot of thoughts that go in that. I don't think it's an easy answer, but I do think that it is about a leadership style. It's about a way we think as leaders, and how do we all continue to just grow and evolve in leadership, because we're never going to get this thing figured out. But I think what we can do is continue to work on ourselves and just continue to try to get better. So there's a lot of thoughts in there, but I'll start there anyway.
Okay, so two things that hit me were the narrative, which we'll talk about, but the second thing was the staying in the conversation longer, which I think is brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and I think it slows down the leader, which, as you say, is really truly important, is to slow down and take this through. So I think that's a really big piece of what we do. The question becomes, how do we actually do it? And if we're in there asking questions, that's a really important component of what we do. But the thing that you said that I think leaders struggle with is we do have a lot of pride in the work that we do. And when you say to somebody, I'm giving you permission to tell me when I'm off base, when I'm out of line, when I'm this, and your response to that isn't commensurate with you wanting to learn, as opposed to you defending where you were, now all of a sudden they no longer have permission to do that, because they're never going to do it again. So how do you create these frameworks that allow you to not only ask the question and ask for permission, but also respond in kind? And when you respond in a way that's predictable, now all of a sudden we get ourselves in a much different situation. So I think that's a really big thing. And sometimes it's just a signal. I was watching, I don't know if you've seen the show The Bear, which I thought was phenomenal. It's about a chef. Have you seen that?
Okay, for a second there, I thought you were talking about Cocaine Bear, and I'm like, no, I don't want to watch that.
No,
I
the
want to hear
Bear.
this one. The
The
Bear?
Bear. It's about a guy that's taking over a restaurant from his family. And there's the reason I tell you that is because when it gets really intense in the kitchen, they have this signal that's just this I'm sorry signal. And at that point, everything shuts down and they'll talk about, they do this, and everybody's just kind of, okay, we'll talk about it later. We apologize and we move on. It's not that it goes away. It's just that this is not the time to have that conversation. So they've created their own framework, essentially, of what that goes on. The second thing is the narrative. And the narrative is really important in terms of how we operate, because it speaks to the framework, obviously, in terms of how we respond, but it's also going to be how people talk about us when we leave, right? The idea that we have to keep in mind and understand is that when people don't know what you do, they make up what you do. And when they make up what you do, it's based on what happened to them a long time ago, or with the interaction with somebody who's in your current, whose position you're in, that they may have had that interaction with somebody else in that same position, different person years before. And the problem in schools is that when they don't know what you do as the leader in your space, they make up what you do as the leader in your space. And then you become less of a leader and more of a number, right? Because when you walk out of that space, they start asking this question. Well, for all that money we pay that person, I don't know what we're getting for all that money. For all that money, we get more teachers. For all that money, we get more paraprofessionals. For all that money, we get more stuff. For all that money, for all that money, for all that money. And you become less of a leader and more of a number. So when they know and understand the work that you do and you're in these spaces, you provide a much better opportunity to build momentum, not only for your school, but for you as the leader in the space. And secondly, if you are in those spaces using the frameworks that you just talked about, where you're considerate and you're kind and you're predictable, now you invite more conversations to you. And I think that's where we want to be as leaders.
Yeah, I love that, Joe. I think I'm just sitting here processing what you're saying, and it's just spot on, right? And again, it aligns with me, right? And again, everybody aligns with how we think and so forth. And just like the people here influence me. I was just going back and forth with Broody this morning, and that's just the guy that I just continue to listen to him and learn from him. And if you haven't checked out
that guy's audience literally every day. The guy,
you need to check out his show.
Energy into content. I could just sit there like, go. And you just want to yell at him, go, do it. Say that again. Say that again.
Yeah. I mean, I told, one of the things is, you don't see it in the moment. And, we all want to make a difference, right? We're in this role. We get one life to live. What are we going to do with it? But I just continue to watch this guy evolve. And we were joking back and forth, like, we started young and now we're old in the game, right? But, his energy is still there. The impact he's made. I told him, you're making generational impact, my friend. It is amazing. Absolutely. So just the following, the people he's helping. And I love the fact that he works so intensely with APs, because he continues to try and grow and develop our people. So God bless you, my friend. Keep doing what you're doing, and check out Broody's podcast. But Joe, going back to the frameworks, right? Just a reminder to our audience, again, this is just what we believe. We're not saying we're right, but it does, to me, I try to think logically as a leader, and then I try different things. But I feel like I learned even more once I left the profession and just surrounded myself and watched so many different leaders. I can see the good things they're doing, but I can also see the mistakes they're making, right? And one of those things that consistently we would see is that reminder that frameworks bring clarity to the work we do. And that's really important, again, that people are very clear in our expectations so they don't hesitate, so they don't lose confidence. And that's important. We know it slows us down, because that means you have to process your thinking before you react. This is why it's important that we pause, and we don't have to give an answer right now. And we can say, hey, give me some time to think about that, and let me circle back to you. There's so many benefits to all that. But let me give you an example of how frameworks can help us, but they're also dangerous if we don't live the framework, right? And so we have to be cognizant of that. So let me give you an example. I was in a school here maybe 3 weeks ago. And again, we're not being critical, but this is how we help when we're in it, we don't see it. And this is why I'm a believer. Like, this is why teachers should be in teachers' classrooms. Principals should be in other principals' buildings. We should all be kind of helping each other see what we don't see. This school's words on the wall, right? Here's some of the words on the wall, including part of their mission and vision and so forth, but all over the school. Words that I saw were this: purpose. I saw relationships, trust, family engagement. Okay. So this is an example of what I mean. It can be dangerous if we're not careful. So I show up on this particular day and the principal is going to go do car line duty. Okay. So we go outside. Okay. And here's the principal. Remember, you got to remember those words on the wall. Okay. So we're standing there and there are 3 other adults doing car line duty, but these 3 adults are just huddled up. And I said, so talk to me a little bit about, what we're doing here. And he's like, oh yeah, we come out here every morning. We greet the kids and, it's a great way to start the day and all the right things that we hear. Great. Yeah. But listen to his words and then watch the behaviors and tell me if they align. 3 adults over here huddled. There are kid after kid after kid walking by and not a single one is engaging that child. Yeah. The principal is standing there and he's not saying a word. And then eventually somebody walks up to him and they're talking business, school business. Every kid's walking by. We got parents walking up, parents dropping their kids off elementary school, turn around, walk away. Nobody's saying a word to these parents, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a reminder. He doesn't mean to be that way. He just doesn't see it.
Right.
So I said to him, hey, let me ask you a question. Remind me again, what's the purpose of being out here again? Nice. And he said, well, it's this. I said, so I want you just to watch now and tell me if our words are aligned with our behaviors, but just watch the 3 adults over here. And if you're telling me it's to make connections, because that's what the word on the wall said, or relationships, see how many opportunities we're missing. And he just didn't see it, right? And again, it's because we're just in it all the time. And so when we debrief later, we talked about this and we talked about all the opportunities. I counted at least 12 parents that walked up, dropped their kid off, and nobody said a word to them. Mm-hmm. I said, but that is the opportunity to build that family engagement. Your school, at some point, something's going to happen in your school, whether it's a kid behavior, an adult behavior. But wouldn't it be nice if we would have engaged with these parents, built a relationship with them? So when we have to make that first call home, it isn't the first time we've heard this from this teacher, even though I drop my kid off there every morning and not a single adult ever says a word to me. And so, again, these are the things that are so important and that we have to live those words on the wall. But I think a framework, there's frameworks for how we want to lead, but there's also frameworks for how we want to live.
Right.
And that to me was an example. Although it's small, in my opinion, it's huge.
Right. So 2 things that resonated with me with that. And I think you're 100% right in everything that you just said. I think that if the individual that you talked to was willing to take the coaching in that and know that it wasn't coming from a place of judgment, everything gets better moving forward. 2 things. The first thing is you said that when you got out, you didn't see a lot of stuff till you got out of the job and you could actually look at it from a different lens and you were able to slow down. Well, we're trying to tell people to slow down in a job that just is so next. But I think we create that for ourselves. And I think it's important to not only to slow down, but be consistent in your response. And if you're consistent in your response, that allows you to slow down. That's where the frameworks come in. But if people know what they're going to get when they come to me, the response that I'm going to get, the follow-up that's going to come with it, now we put ourselves in a much better position, right? And I think that's been a big deal for us in terms of creating that. The other thing is when you see the words on the wall, relationship, purpose, connections, I mean, they're everywhere. Everywhere you go, they're everywhere. And they should be, Jimmy. They should. But how often do we sit down and talk about, like, what does it mean and what's the actual framework or practice for each of those things? The purpose on the playground or meeting people for car duty might not be to create great relationships. Maybe it's to keep people safe. Okay, if that's it, then does the behavior match that? I may disagree with it. I may say, wait a minute, the purpose should be to create connections and relationships with people as they're getting out of the car, right? And the person that I'm talking to, nope, it's about safety right now. We just want to get people into the room. Again, I could disagree with it, But as long as the behaviors match what purpose they've determined for that action, now we're in a better situation. And honestly, it's not about me, it's about them. So when you can ask them the question, what is the purpose? What is the reason why we do this? Now you can have a conversation about the logistics of that situation. And I think that's the most important part of it.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Exactly. And that's why the relationship, even me, am I modeling that? Have I built trust? Have I invested? Do I have a relationship? Have we been clear what my role is, right? All those things are important, right? And that's why I have to be very hypersensitive to make sure that I'm actually doing the same thing that we're having this conversation about. And that's what I love about it, right? Because we're all in the same situation. And I still think comes down to behavior, right? Whatever that behavior is. But those agreed upon commitments are important. Like you just said, are we clear to what the purpose is? Are we clear to what the words mean? We all have different definitions. I'm laughing at Josh because thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. I'm going to get one out tomorrow, buddy. I promise. I'm working on it right now. It's actually on that, the idea of collective commitments and being very clear to what we mean. So when we say relationships, have we had a conversation? Do we have a process? Have we given people a voice for all of us to come together and say, when we say relationships, what do we mean by that? Because we're all going to have different definitions for that. It's like saying, well, I know I hear this all the time. Well, we're going to do what's best for kids. I know, but define that for me. And who gets to make that decision? Because my definition of what's best for kids might be different than yours. And we see this all the time. Some teachers think kids can be held accountable. You should be held accountable for their behavior. That's what I think is best for kids. Hey, these kids are going to have to understand how the real world works. So yeah, they need to be punished sometimes. That's how they think is best for kids. Other people think, no, we shouldn't give them any consequences. That's not going to hurt to help them. That's what they think is best for kids. Right. And we see this over and over. We see this disconnect, but that to me is a leadership issue. I agree. Our job is to help facilitate, bring clarity to people what the expectations of how we're going to behave in the organization, right? And then we all have to live those collective agreements. And so, yeah, I always say, look at the words on the wall. And if our behavior doesn't match that, then I feel like we're losing credibility. They just become words about words. So I'm not saying it's easy, but this is why we have to give people permission, because we're all going to violate the words on the wall. That's the thing. I'm going to violate him. You're going to violate him. We're all going to violate him. Even Rudy is going to violate him. But we love him enough and we trust him enough and we have a relationship, then he knows it comes from the heart in a good place, right? Hey, I want you to be great. But none of us are going to get there by ourselves, my friends. And so this is why I love what we do. This is what I love about this family, because I think anybody in this group, as I see people, could reach out to any one of us and we would all be there for each other. And this is what I love about our profession. And that's where we have to really protect our profession, because it is the greatest profession, but we have to be careful because I know people are leaving the profession and we have to figure out better ways to keep people to stay rather than leave. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to create a culture where everybody feels like they belong, right? Bottom line.
I agree. So in terms of what we do with that, the one suggestion that I would make that I made I don't want to say horrible. It wasn't good. It was, the idea that I think we need to keep in mind is how much the more that we expect in terms of the words that we use, the less we can dive deep into them and really define what they look like. Like when the mission statement is 3 paragraphs, when you walk around every turn, every hallway has a different set of language, has a different set of words, has a different set of whatever. We all might be doing the best that we can, but we're going up, but we're going up at this angle and this angle. We're going up, but we're not going with these collective commitments that allow us to do the work that we want to do. So when we can simplify what that looks like and say, we are about these 3 things, whatever these 3 or 2, I don't even care. But the minute that we start getting into, we're about 4 and 5 and 6, and here are our 9 norms that we allow ourselves to make sure that every meeting has or whatever, the more that you get, the harder it is to determine what each one of those looks like. And to be really honest, the more that you get, some of them start to become in conflict with others, or the people that don't want you to succeed start poking holes in them because they see, well, those don't all match up all the time. So for simplicity's sake, creating these 1, 2, 3, these are the 3 things that we're all about. puts us in a much better situation because we can always come back to those three and define what they look like in every piece of the organization, as opposed to having three over here and then the middle school has this group and the high school has this group and the sixth grade has that group and the fourth grade has this group and this is what we believe in third grade, but this is what we believe in fourth grade. And some of it aligns, but not all of it aligns. It all makes kids better, but at the same time, it's different. You know what I mean? It's like, wow. And now that's why we're getting people that are so jacked up, because they're like, I don't even know what to expect anymore. So come back to how we started it. When we're clear in expectation and they know the response, they're going to come to us with conversation or questions about what we want and need. And if our response lends itself to the three words on the wall or the three pieces of things the three things that we believe, we put ourselves in a better position. We put our staff in a better position. We put our students and our parents in a better position, because then the expectation that is known is also going to be the one that's followed moving forward.
Absolutely. Well said, my friend. Everybody who joined the show this morning, thank you so much. I'm going to get off because I'm going to go check out Barudi's podcast this morning.
Oh,
and I'm going to pour some love into him this morning. So, hey, listen, we are so grateful that you continue. If you wouldn't mind, we'd love for you to share out the show, maybe share it out, give people comments, thoughts, follow the show, etc. Invite others to join or check it out. We have over, I think, 50 episodes now that you can check out on YouTube and download and those kinds of things. Anyway, if anything, just listen to the first 10 minutes of every show, because Joe will bring it every time. I promise that. Listen, my friends, God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful week. And yes, as Joe said, whatever those things are, right? Remember, stay in the conversation longer. We don't want to misdiagnose it. Okay. And Joe,
agree.
Slow down with that pizza and enjoy it, my friend, because it looks so good. So good.
God
bless everyone. We'll hope to check you out. We won't be back next week, but we will be back the week after that. Okay. So until next time, be the change, my friends. God bless.
Take care, everybody.